you announce some changes you need to make in your organization. Maybe it's introducing new technology, launching a new business line, or having people come back to the office. But it seems that every turn, your employees are challenging the need for change, throwing up roadblocks, giving you negative feedback. You believe they are resistant to change. But what if I told you it's not resistance? In today's video, I'm going to share with you why what you think is resistance isn't, and what you can do about it. If you are new here, I'm Dr. Dawn Marie Turner. I am a change leadership coach, trainer, creator of the Readiness mindset, and president of Turner Change Management. I help leaders use practical, science-based ways to make their organization healthier, stronger, and excited about change. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I put out awesome change management videos every week that will help you thrive in an era of constant change. Okay, let's get started. You announce the change to your team, and the barrage of questions, challenges, backlash was swift and loud. If you're like the leaders who reach out to me, you're thinking, help, my team is resistant to change and I need to know how to manage it. But the problem isn't that your team is resistant to change. The problem is that you believe that they are resistant to change. It's true. The idea that people, we, any of us, you and I, resist change has become a familiar and largely unchallenged belief that has infused itself into every aspect of change. I call this a resistant mindset. And this belief, the belief that people resist change, tricks us into seeing resistance where none exists. One example is that you fail to acknowledge your significant head start on the change initiative, and then you mistake that lag time in response as resistance to change. I live on the west coast of Canada, and this spring I had the opportunity to visit Halifax. And the first thing that I noticed was that spring was just starting. It was about 3 or 4 weeks behind where we were on the west coast. Now that's not unusual. It's like that almost every year. But it would be silly if I were to have labeled the Maritimes as resistant to spring because their spring was not proceeding at the same rate and timeline as we were on the West Coast. Yet, that's what I see many leaders doing. They announce something new, usually something that they've been working on for a while, sometimes months. And when their team doesn't demonstrate the expected level of enthusiasm or ask too many questions, appears slow to engage with the change, or gives negative feedback, the leaders label all of those behaviors and then the people as resistant to change. As the initiator of the change, you are always going to start the change process sooner, which means that your level of readiness will always be higher and more advanced than the rest of your organization. And the difference in response is not evidence of resistance. It is a reflection of your team's level of readiness. And when you can begin to see this and assess what that response means in terms of their level of readiness, you can then work with that level of readiness and eliminate the resistance to change. One of the reasons change often falls short or doesn't succeed is because we fail to assess that level of readiness, and the leaders initiate and continue to engage with the change at their level of readiness versus those of their team members. That's what one executive team of a large manufacturing firm that I worked with discovered. They realized that what they were experiencing from their employees wasn't resistance. They had been working on the change initiative for a full 18 months before they announced it to the employees. And when they were able to reinterpret the response that they were seeing as a reflection of the team's level of readiness, they began to realize that many of the questions, the concerns that the employees had were the same that they had when they initially started to look at what the opportunity for change was in the organization and why it was needed. The risk when you label this lag time between your level of readiness and your team's level of readiness as resistant, and you begin to push harder, is that you can create a cycle of toxic change, and that will sabotage your current change efforts and also your future change efforts. So the first step for breaking that cycle and preventing resistance to change is to recognize when you're working with a resistant mindset. And here are some tips that will help you think about, am I working with a resistant mindset? You'll know you're working with a resistant mindset if you believe people resist change and that you as a leader need to manage and overcome your employees' resistance. Then you have a resistant mindset. You have a resistant mindset if you find yourself getting frustrated when you introduce something new and people give you negative feedback. I use negative in quotation marks because what they're giving you is feedback, and it is that perception that people are resistant that's framing it as negative. Or they appear to criticize or question the change, then you're working with a resistant mindset. You're working with a resistant mindset if you set a timeline for your change initiative without knowing what is the level of readiness of the team and to know what the starting place is for that change initiative. The second step is to adopt and learn to work with a readiness mindset. Readiness drives the pace of every change, whether it's a personal change, whether it's in nature or in your organization. We can't move faster than our level of preparedness and readiness for what we need to do differently. That's why adopting a readiness mindset is so powerful. Breaking that toxic cycle of change can only be done when you focus on building readiness. It may seem a little counterintuitive, but focusing on building readiness instead of managing resistance enables easier, faster, and more stable change. If you're struggling with change in your organization, or if you'd like to develop new skills and discover how to use the readiness mindset, please look in the description box below. I have lots of free and paid resources that are going to help you use change to create growth and prosperity in your organization. Okay, that's it for now. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.